Hello and welcome to Cool Sports Guy. I'm Tom, and there's nobody joining me today. It's just going to be me, and it's going to be a fun, quick, and to be honest, a little boring one. We're going to go ahead and talk about the Week 5 picks for this upcoming NFL week. And I don't want to really give out the records for Week 1 through 4 because they're not that great, and I'm pretty sure I'm losing. So we're going to keep it that way for now until I catch up. But without further ado, we will get right into it. I'm going to put the picks up. But before I do that, make sure you check us out on our Facebook page, Instagram page, Twitter, thecoolsportsguy.com, Cool Sports Guy, and Cool Sports Guy for Twitter. And thank you so much. And let's join. And let's look at this week 5. So obviously, as usual, we are doing the picks. And the Thursday night game will be picked when we do our segment for Thursdays. And we're going to just jump right into all the rest of the picks. So let's take a look. And our first game is actually going to be the Houston Texans division game at Jacksonville Jaguars. They're really in a lot of these games. I was looking through the slides, and there's not a lot of disagreements between me, Jared, or Jose on these, especially this one. So starting, and I can easily say we all agree the Texans. It seems like they just find ways to lose games at the end of the games. I don't know why. I don't know how, but they just do it. The Jacksonville Jaguars, on the other hand, I've been pretty high on them before the season started. And to be honest with you, I think they're performing a little better than I even anticipated them to do so. And yes, that includes last week's game. They didn't do very well last week. Trevor Lawrence had a horrible game. I believe he turned the ball over about 4 times, which I personally don't see happening back to back. And unfortunately, right now for the Houston Texans, they're just not a very good football team. I think the Jaguars have, let's face it, the better quarterback, the better team, and better coaching. And I think they're going to win at home. So I picked the Jacksonville Jaguars to win. Jose and Jarrett seems like they didn't have much of a disagreement there. So there's our first one. Again, unfortunately, zero disagreements, and we're not going to see a lot of those today. So moving on, Giants at Packers. So once again, Packers, I think they are week by week, they're starting to find their rhythm a bit more than they used to be. They're they're gonna get there. The biggest problem that Aaron Rodgers has right now is the connection that he's building with the receivers, which by every week we're seeing it's getting better and better. Couple of drops here and there that they shouldn't have. Last week against the Patriots, there should have been a touchdown pass in the end zone that should have been caught, and the game should not have gone overtime. But Dobbs unfortunately did drop it. Nonetheless, they pulled one out. Belichick gave him everything he can defensively. Um, and look, the Packers are a good team. They're an improving good team. I said that before the beginning of the season. I still think when it's all said and done, they're going to end up with the number 1 seed in the NFC once again. Giants overall pretty good, except for 2 positions, which is the offensive line. It's not good at all, and then on top of that, their quarterback situation, unfortunately, also not good. And when you have an offensive line that's not producing and you don't have a quarterback that can make up for that, that's a disaster waiting to happen. And that's going to be the biggest reason the Giants are not going to be successful by the time the season comes to an end, even though they're actually not looking too bad right now. And I hate to say it because Giants have the potential, but here we are. So Jared's the one that was picking here first, and I'm sure Jared hating picking Green Bay to win this game, considering he's a Bears fan. But I think everybody can agree, hey, Green Bay is a better team here. Oh, I did not mean to do that. I apologize. Seahawks at Lions is the next game coming up. Anyway, I don't know what that was. I apologize for that. It's not the next game coming up. They played last week. Editing issues right there, but we're just gonna move on. So Steelers at Bills. Steelers last week finally benched Mitch Trubisky. I felt like it was a little too soon, but at the same time, the way Mitch was playing, it was inevitable, and they had to throw the rookie in there and give him a chance to go out there, show what he's got, and he did. He actually, he played a pretty okay game, had 2 rushing touchdowns, nearly brought them back, and they obviously still came up a little short. And I'm sure, Tomlin and the rest of the team's wondering, man, what if we would have started Kenny Pickett from the beginning of this game? Maybe we would not have been in this situation. But Steelers also are supposed to be a really great defense, and unfortunately, especially once DJ Watt got hurt, hasn't looked that way. Bills, on the other hand, we've seen them have, I want to say, one, and you can argue maybe two bad games so far. Once against the Miami Dolphins, who are really, really good. The other one's against the Ravens, which was a little surprising because Ravens' weakness was their defense, and they held the Bills to 3 point initially. But of course, the Bills bounced back, came back, and won the game. And you can almost say the Ravens just kind of gave the game away. But the Bills have all the momentum in the world right now. I think they're playing at home. They're the better team, obviously. They have the better quarterback, obviously. Overall, well-rounded team. And coaching wise, I don't want to say anything bad about Tomlin, but this season might look like the one that he's finally not gonna have a winning season, and I do feel bad for the guy. I really wish that didn't happen to him, but here we are. But once again, Steelers at Bills. If I'm the one picking, I got the Bills winning it, and I think it's a pretty no-brainer when I say we all got the Bills winning this game. This is my Super Bowl pick, and I think they're going to end up making the Super Bowl. Well, maybe. Kansas City looks damn good, but we'll see what happens. Moving on. So Chargers or Browns. These two teams, Browns obviously came up short against the Falcons last week. Once again, I think, look, considering that they have Jacoby Brissett, it's it's a very good team. And the Browns can make a lot happen. I just think the Chargers are just so much better. Even Chargers so far have had one bad game where Justin Herbert just, wasn't performing to Justin Herbert standards, and for the right reasons. Obviously, he was hurt. Last week, they bounced back. They played great, and, well, they played really good. And I think this is going to be a much closer game than it seems. But at the end of the day, I think I think the Chargers are going to go with it. They're a really, really good football team. There are definitely some questions, I would say, from some folks around the coaching of the Chargers, but I think it's just a little aggressive, and sometimes the NFL needs a little aggressive. So I have to go with the LA Chargers here. And once again, I don't see a reason to why anyone has to disagree with me. The only thing I can say is, hey, we picked against the Browns a couple of times so far, and it hasn't really cashed out the best. And we'll see. And I think it's going to be a closer game, but I think Chargers are going to come out with the win. We have another division matchup coming up. So Bears are traveling to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. So this is going to be a very interesting game. I was a little surprised putting the slides together for the first time in a long time. Jared kind of gave up on his team, and he picked the Vikings to win the football game. Me, on the other hand, I put some thought into it. I thought about initially picking the Bears to win, but listen, it almost seems like at this point the Bears are just intentionally losing. They're going to have the highest cap space next year, and I think they'll be okay with losing, so they can get their draft capital at the end of the year and hopefully build on from there. If they're not intentionally losing, I think there's a lot of questions to be looked within the organization. Vikings, on the other hand, aside from one bad game, they've done a pretty solid job. They look like a team that's ready to play. Like, this is going to be a 10 to 11 win team. They're going to make the playoffs, and they're more than likely going to lose in the wild card or divisional round. But you know what? That's pretty darn good enough to beat the Bears. So I also have the Vikings winning this game, and so does Jose. We are still waiting on a disagreement here, and hopefully one will be coming up soon. Oh, guess what? One did just come up. The Detroit Lions are traveling to the New England Patriots to take on Bill Belichick. Matt Patricia's old team. I'm sure Patricia's going to have some vengeance right there. I was very high on Detroit Lions going into the season. Mainly has to do with me watching a lot of Hard Knocks. And I think they have the potential. I think they could be a good team. Dan Campbell, I was very critical of him when he first took over the coaching job, but man, I love his coaching style. He cares a lot for his players, and his players really, really want to fight for him and play for him. That being said, they need to do a better job of closing out games. They either fall behind and crawl their way back and end up not coming back enough, or they get a lead and then just kind of give up on the games. They need to do a better job in the fourth quarter keeping up their score and finishing and winning football games. And as much critical as I've been on Bill Belichick recently, one thing I can say is he always makes sure that his team finishes plays, finishes quarters, and finishes games. And he is getting better and better on defense as the years going by. I did not, I called it initially last week, and I said this Patriots Packers game is going to be a lot closer than we think. It seems like an easy win for the Packers, but man, the Patriots, they're going to bring it. Anytime they play a really good quarterback, somehow Bill Belichick brings it. He did that against Patrick Mahomes. He did that against Aaron Rodgers, obviously, last week. And he's done it plenty of times against plenty of good quarterbacks. And Jared Goff, I think as high scoring of an offense the Lions has, I think that Jared Goff is going to struggle against Bill Belichick coach defense. And the situation that we're not aware of or unsure of is who the Patriots starting quarterback will be. But I can almost guarantee that's not going to be the effect on if the Patriots win or lose the game. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. I think Belichick is going to keep the high scoring Lions offense to a lower scoring game, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on the Lions. I think the Patriots are going to win this game. But of course, my colleagues disagree with me. And listen, anytime I pick the Patriots to win, they tend to lose, and vice versa. So we'll see what happens. I can care less on who wins this game, but I think it's going to be once again, I think it's going to be a defensive game to watch. It's going to be interesting to watch this game. The Seahawks at Saints. So talk about the Detroit Lions. Talking about their defense, almost gave up 50 points to the Seahawks. The Seahawks put 48 on the Lions to win last week. When you say, hey, my team put up 45 points and still lost the game, there's a lot of questions there, and that's what the Lions really need to dig in on. And I want to say the same goes for Seahawks. Seahawks has a defensive head coach who, his entire career depended on his defense, and his defense is giving up 45 points to Jared Goff is very questionable worthy. So I will definitely take a much harder look at it. Saints, to my knowledge, still not 100% sure about their quarterback situation, but I think overall Saints have the better defense for sure. And it really just depends on which version of these offenses show up. And that goes for both Seahawks and the Saints. To me, this is kind of a gamble play. To Jared, it was pretty obvious. It was the Saints. I went with the Seahawks because I think momentum is on their end. They just put up 48 points against the Detroit Lions team, and they're going to come back, and they're going to come back out to play. It almost seems like the Seahawks are out to prove something this year, so it's going to be very interesting to see how this game unfolds. Jose actually agrees with me and picked the Seahawks to win too. All right, so hey, look at that. Two disagreements in a row. So we'll move on to Dolphins at Jets. So we have another division matchup coming up. Jets, as you know, once again won last week. Had to put on my Mike White jersey for that. Zach Wilson is back. Played pretty well actually, and he didn't do anything crazy good, but he definitely did enough to give his team the advantage, let them win, help them win. And Dolphins, on the other hand, man, they're good. They're not going to have Tua play, unfortunately, but I still think is it Teddy Bridgewater? I forgot who their backup is already. I think it's Bridgewater is doing a phenomenal job so far. I think he's a reliable backup, but overall, with Tyreek and the rest of the guys and the way their defense and special teams are playing, I think they are a better team than the Jets. And let's face it, Jets are just not that good. Yeah, they won 2 games, but they're not that great. I have to go with the Dolphins here, and my friends have to agree with me on this one. So we're back to the agreeing bandwagon. Falcons at Bucks. Listen, everybody knows this. I still, last week was a rough one to watch. It was very rough to watch, especially on the defensive end. The one thing that was guaranteed for the Bucks was, hey, the defense is going to hold up. the offense needs to get their crap together. The offense played worse than the stats show. I think towards the end of the game, it was kind of a given that the Chiefs won, and but the offense did put a lot of things together. They couldn't get the run game going, but Brady actually played very well in my opinion. So I think that part's coming together, and now the defense just need to figure out. And I don't even think the defense need to figure out too much. I think it's one thing to play a regular football team and have really great defense. You can still have the same game plan. It's just different when you're playing the Chiefs because they're so explosive offensively. You just never know what they're going to do, and it was just very hard to stop them. Falcons, on the other hand, they're a little iffy going back and forth, and I just don't see them beating the Bucks. Brady's never lost to the Falcons, and I don't think he plans on it. And I'm sure both of these teams are going to bring it. And I obviously have the Bucks winning. Jared, of course, and so does Jose. All three of us agree on the Bucks winning. Next up, we have the Titans at Commanders. So there's another division game here. The Titans were able to beat the Colts last week. I don't know how to feel about the Titans this year. They're kind of back and forth. Sometimes they look like they can still do it and they can still win games, and other times they look like they have no idea what the heck they're doing. So but on the other hand, they are playing the Commanders, and look, they might be one of the worst teams, or man, they might be the worst team in football this season so far, and they are, without a doubt, one of the worst teams in football this far. And I think they're going to continue to be that way. So even though I'm kind of unsure on the Titans, I can almost say I don't need to be super sure on the Titans to know, hey, when you're playing the Commanders, the chances are you're just going to win the game. And but let's agree on that. 49ers and Panthers. So 49ers 2 weeks ago against the Broncos crapped the bed. Jimmy Garoppolo came out, took a lot of criticism. He stepped out of bounds, followed by a pick six that didn't count. Or I'm sorry, stepped out of bounds in his end zone, counted for a safety, and that's the only reason on the same play the pick six didn't count. Panthers, I think they're done with Baker Mayfield. I've been saying this for ages. I don't think he is a franchise or a great quarterback. I'm sorry, but it's just true. He doesn't have the leadership or the equality, in my opinion. Panthers are a cluster just like they've been for the last several years, and they're going to continue to be that way. 49ers, on the other hand, is a well-coached, well-run organization. You can say Jimmy Garoppolo is limited, not limited, injury-prone, all you want, but when the guy's on the field, more often than not, they win football games. And they have a good running game. They have a really, really, really good defense, by the way, in case anyone's not noticed it. And well, the Panthers basically at this point have none of those. So I I think this is a pretty easy no-brainer to me. I had to pick the 49ers to win. I'm sure Jarrett agrees with me, and so does Jose. And so far there's been like 2 games that we disagree on. I think there's like maybe a few more coming up, but that's gonna be it. We're going through these pretty quick, so let's see. We got like 5 games left. All right. Told you this was going to be fun and easy and short. Eagles are traveling to Arizona. Eagles look like the best team in the NFC right now. They are undefeated. They are a very well-rounded football team. Of course, I'm picking first on this one. So this is the one game, for whatever reason, I just went with my gut. And I picked the team that I never win to win football games, which is the Arizona Cardinals. It might be my lingering emotional support for J.J. Watt. It was hard to watch him last week. I hope he's healthy. Hope he's okay. Hope he continues to stay healthy. And I just want to see Cardinals defeat the Eagles, probably just for that purposes. They are actually not playing terrible football right now, even though they're not the best team. And the Eagles, on the other hand, you know what? Maybe they're flying a little too high, and they may not be realizing it. Crazy thing with the Eagles, if they lose, would be that the Cowboys with the win can tie the Eagles for the division, and that they're going to go head to head the following week. Either way, I'm sure the Eagles are going to put up a fight. They're going to try and go 5-0. They probably will end up going 5-0, but I let my emotion pick this game. I had to go with the Cardinals. So there's your disagreement. And I don't think everybody I think I may have made a mistake here. Um yeah, I did make a mistake. So Jose actually agrees with me and he has the Cardinals winning, but Jared went the smart route and has the Eagles winning this game. So I don't know what made Jose pick the Cardinals, but let's hope he's right. So but I do apologize. Jared's pick is not the Cardinals. It is the Eagles. Moving on to the next game, which is going to be Cowboys at Rams. So this they have a history of playing each other. They've been, gone back and forth quite a bit. Um Look, all eyes are on Cooper Rush right now, but I think that I should be on the Cowboys defense. The Cowboys defense are the reason the Cowboys are winning games. The Rams are struggling in some areas, and it was kind of surprising the drop off they've had so far this season. I'm sure McVay's gonna tie things up, tighten it up, and find ways to win football games. And I think this is going to be the week they do it. And unfortunately for Cooper Rush, this is going to be the first ever NFL game that he starts that he's going to lose. Here's the thing: I think Cooper Rush is good, and he's playing a solid game, but he's not doing anything crazy. People keep talking about how Cooper Rush. Stop getting those two mixed up. How Cooper Rush is helping the Cowboys win football games. Yeah, sure, he's helping the Cowboys win football games, but he's not the underlying cause of them winning football games. He manages the game pretty okay, and kudos to him. He does a great job. And I'm not trying to take anything away from him. He's going out there doing exactly what he should do, and he's not losing the game for the Cowboys. But he also hasn't done anything crazy to win the games for Cowboys. The defense and the coordination on the offense have helped do that a lot. Unfortunately, this week, I think the Rams are going to bring a lot of pressure, and McVay is pretty good when it comes to his quarterback getting pressures on. Like, this guy's reached a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. I don't know about everybody. I'm definitely not high on Jared Goff. If you can get Jared Goff to a Super Bowl, you got some tricks up your sleeves. So I got the Rams winning it. It was a pretty easy, solid pick for me. Jared's also got the Rams winning it. Jose, of course, had to go the rebellious route and pick Dallas to win the game. And man, if he's right, kudos to him. But I think this is going to be the first one. It's definitely going to be a battle. I think it's going to be a big test. I think if the Cowboys can win this game, then they're going to show a lot of potential. And there's going to be a lot of questions arising around if, hey, when Dak comes back healthy, do we keep dealing the hot hand, or do we, do we switch out the QBs because we paid Dak all this money? So it's going to be interesting. So Bengals are traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Bengals look like they're finally starting to get some of their rhythm back. The beginning of the season, they looked like they have no idea what the heck they're doing. But at the end of the day, this is a division game. And as great as the Bengals did last year, I've been saying it since last year. I've said it in the beginning of this year too. There were too many injuries on the Ravens last year for Ravens to win. Bengals should not have went as far as the Super Bowl. They should have lost to the Titans if the Titans didn't beat themselves. And to be honest, I still feel the same way about the Bengals. I don't think they're that great. I think they're going to win about 8 or 9 games this season, and that's going to be it. And unfortunately for the Bengals, this is not going to be a game that they win. Like the Ravens, there's definitely a lot of questions around their defense. But aside from that, Lamar, besides last week, is playing lights out. Their run game, their passing game, and their defense don't need to do much when you have a quarterback that's scoring as high as they are. The only thing the Ravens need to focus on is continue pass rushes and get after Joe Burrow, because that offensive line is still not 100% there. Even though they looked a lot better last week, it's still not 100% there. So if they can get to Burrow a couple of times, force maybe 1 or 2 turnovers, or a couple of stops, they can get an early lead on this game, and I don't think there's going to be much of a looking back. This game was a no-brainer for me. I had to go with the Ravens, and I don't think there's anybody here that's willing to disagree with me on that. So here we go. And then we have our final game, which is going to be Raiders at Chiefs. Man, this is interesting because the Raiders finally got a win over their division rival, and the Chiefs had probably the best game they've had since I don't know when. But last week against the Bucs, I've never ever expected the Chiefs to run for almost 200 yards on a Buccaneers defense. Patrick Mahomes is I'm gonna get a lot of crap for saying this. He could have played better last week. I think he had at least 3 passes. One of them was an interception, and there were 2 more that went through the hands of DBs that should have been intercepted. And it wasn't one of those, the ball got tipped and it was in the air. No, like these passes were going through the hands of defensive players of the Buccaneers, and if they would have just come up with the play, it would have been intercepted. Patrick Mahomes tends to be a little too reckless with the football sometimes. He makes some really cool, awesome throws, but he needs to be more careful with the football sometimes. Run game was great. And listen, don't get me wrong, Mahomes still played lights out overall, and they hung a lot of points. I think it was 41 points that they put on the Buccaneers, which was ridiculously high. And the Chiefs are good. They're really, really good, and it's very hard to bet against them this week, or any week for that matter. Raiders, on the other hand, they started off really slow. Derek Carr has a history of starting slow when he has new coaches. I'm very high on Derek Carr. I still am, even though it's been a disappointment the last few weeks. I think they're finally somewhat starting to find a rhythm. They actually, in my opinion, started finding their rhythm against the Titans the week before when they were driving down the field to go get a touchdown, and they just couldn't convert the 2-point conversion. So this was a hard choice for me. I know it shouldn't be. And once again, I kind of went with my emotion and my gut, and I went a little crazy. And Jared naturally picked the Chiefs, and so did Jose. But man, I picked the Raiders to win the game. So we'll see what happens here. These crazy picks might be the reason why I have the worst record right now out of all of us doing it. But you know what? It's fun. It's fun to bet on the underdog. It's fun to bet on, make some crazy assumptions. Usually it's Jose the one that does it, but somehow he pulls it out. And I think those are all the games that we have for the week. And it's going to be a fun week. Injuries are starting to pile up, unfortunately, for the for multiple teams. Broncos have key injuries happening. Colts have Jonathan Taylor out this week. I don't know how long he's going to be out for. And it always stinks. It always stinks when there's players that are getting hurt. That's not the way you want to see people go. Tua is out for this week. And once again, he will be back in about a week. There's a slight chance Cameron Braid for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So now there's going to be probably another investigation happening with that. Him hitting his head and coming back into the game about 2 minutes later to play. The NFL definitely needs to tighten up their concussion protocol. I'll tell you that. And aside from that, I want to see some real head-to-head, wins and losses rather than causes of guys getting hurt and going out, even though it is part of the game. So hope everyone does stay healthy, and looking forward to a fantastic NFL season. I think that's all I have. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and joining. And once again, don't forget to check us out on our website, coolsportsguy.com, our Facebook page, Cool Sports Guy, Instagram, The Cool Sports Guy, and Twitter, Cool Sports Guy. Until I see you guys again, thank you so much for joining in, and we'll see you next week. Have a fantastic Sunday of NFL.